try to go back in time and imagine yourself as a baby. I'm not going to ask you to start crying or crawling around the room. But try to think of the major learnings you had. Perhaps it was learning how to walk, or how to hold an object by yourself. Maybe it was learning how not to hit your baby friends, or even how to say your first words. But let me ask you by a show of hands, how many of you were taught how to see? No one, right? You shouldn't blame your parents for that. My point here is that human sight is usually taken for granted, unless you lose it for some reason, or unless you're born with an eye impairment, which was my case. To your friendly eyes, it might seem that I don't have any problem, but I was born blind from my left eye, and I have low vision in my right one. So I'd like to welcome you to my world. That's probably a very good approximation of how I see things. In this case, this is not a thing, but actually the love of my life on our wedding day. But the fact is that since I was a kid, I had to understand how to go through that blur. I had to learn how to see. Now you might be asking, what learning how to see looks like? What is seeing? Well, biology has an explanation for us. It says that it's all about light. Light that goes through a series of very delicate structures in our eye, like the cornea or the pupil, until it finally reaches our retina, a photosensitive tissue that transforms light into electrical signals. Those electrical signals then are processed and travel from our eye to our brain. So in fact, our eyes just collect visual information, but we see with our brain. According to science, vision is an activity 90% mental and only 10% physical. So when I look back into my struggles, I see now that biology is indeed right. And the act of seeing is much more in here, and maybe in here, than in here. I truly believe that real sight is based on three main attitudes, completely unrelated to our physical condition. And I hope to share them with you today through some of the lessons that I had in my life. My first lesson came pretty early, at the age of 4. Trying to help me be part of the world in a different way, my parents decided to put me in a music school. And before even learning how to read words, by transforming those little black blurred stains into music notes, I was able to see a brand new world through sound. But seeing that world required a lot of effort, a lot of practice, and a lot of dedication. So I learned that seeing is actually about the level of depth you put in everything you do in your life. My second lesson came some years later than that. I was 17 years old. I was very shy, probably facing a lot of the same challenges you all faced at that age. But I had this crazy idea of auditioning to a theater company. Well, crazier than me were the ones who accepted an actor who could barely see to the other side of the stage. But at that same stage, with a bunch of light in my face, I learned that seeing is much more about perspective. By looking to the world through the eyes of many, many different characters, I learn how different people are, and yet how similar we are to each other. My third and final lesson came more recently. I've always been passionate about photography, maybe because images were always a bit mysterious and blurred to me, I couldn't see them well. But I never thought I would be able to use a professional camera to take professional photographs. Well, recently I met a photographer and he told me, have you ever noticed that you only need one eye to look through the viewfinder of a camera? Indeed, he's right. So this picture you're seeing here was taken by a photographer with just one eye. You're looking at him right now. So through my photographs, I also learned that vision is much more about focusing in your dreams, focusing in what matters most to you, and why. I truly believe that all of those lessons should be taught to us, together with that biology class I just showed you some slides ago. And I'm sure that you all have already experienced at least one moment in your lives where you didn't use even those 10% to actually see the world. Don't you remember that very first kiss, when you almost automatically closed your eyes? I'm sure you're very, very focused at that moment. How about the dozens of times your friends asked you to close your eyes, just to hit you with a surprise from a brand new perspective? Not to mention watching a concert where your favorite rock star closes his eyes at the peak of the song. I'm sure he was seeing a lot of stuff in that moment and experiencing the deepest emotions. Helen Keller was an American educator and activist for the blind and the deaf people. She was blind, actually. And she once said, "What I'm looking for is not out there. It's in me." So I'd like to invite you to step into my world, even if you have perfect sight. So the next time you face a challenge, a hard decision, or even a simple pleasure in life, try not to look at it only with your eyes wide open. Close them and open up your brain so you can unlock a different kind of vision, one that goes beyond that blur and helps you be more focused, broaden your perspectives, and look deeper inside. Thank you.